Well, it looks like there's going to be a massive twist in Avengers Doomsday that is going to connect to Doctor Strange and to what the original plot for Doctor Strange 3 was supposed to be. Originally, Marvel Studios had big plans for Doctor Strange 3. It was going to be one of the most important projects to come from Marvel Studios in a very long time, and they set this up with the post-credit scene for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. However, when Kang was kicked out and Doom came in, the plans obviously changed. And now, instead of getting Doctor Strange 3 as a solo project before Doomsday and Secret Wars, we're most likely getting Doctor Strange 3 after Secret Wars. And that movie is going to be completely different than what it was supposed to be. However, what it was supposed to be is simply going to go into Doomsday. Pretty much what we're hearing is that same exact story that we would have gotten for Doctor Strange 3 is going to be condensed and put into Avengers Doomsday, and it's going to lead to a pretty big twist, but it's also going to make Avengers Doomsday be very different than Avengers Infinity War. Because a lot of people have been saying, well, it sounds like the Russo brothers are kind of making Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars in the same fashion that they're making Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame, in which, yeah, I'm sure they are a little bit, because if it's not broken, don't fix it. Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame are probably the best Marvel movies of all time. So if it's not broken, don't fix it. Take a few pages from that playbook, but of course, they're going to be different. And one of the biggest differences is going to come down to Doctor Strange and this big twist that we're going to talk about in this video. I personally think the Russo brothers are onto something very clever here, but you'll have to let me know what you think at the end of the video. So let's dive into the first of these two reports that we're going to go over today that talk about this big twist and how Doctor Strange 3 will be put into Avengers Doomsday. This is coming from Murphy's Multiverse, and it starts off by saying fresh reports from industry insiders Daniel Richman and Jeff Snyder suggest that Robert Downey Jr.'s Victor Von Doom won't be conquering the multiverse alone, but according to the reports, he will be accompanied by a wizard sidekick who wears a variation of the Latverian mask featuring a distinct slot on the forehead for a third eye. Okay, well, at the end of Multiverse of Madness, we saw Doctor Strange get corrupted, which is going to come into play in this report, and he got a third eye. So when this report originally came out, we obviously knew it was Doctor Strange, but this further proves it, this further backs it up. But the report continues and states, this wizard reportedly wields a sling ring with lethal precision, acting as Doom's primary enforcer and multiversal navigator. While Cumberbatch's name wasn't on the initial official cast list, multiple sources now claim he has filmed pivotal high security scenes in the UK under a production code name. So that is very, very interesting. Whatever they are filming, they're keeping very secretive. So this is going to be an incredibly important scene. And it sounds like we have a little details about what it might be. Now, the next part of this article is titled, Why the Betrayal? Obviously, if Doctor Strange is going to be working with Doctor Doom, there's a betrayal here. This isn't necessarily the whole entirety of the big twist. Stick with me for a bit. But it says, to understand why Stephen Strange would align with a tyrant like Doom, we have to look at the ending of Multiverse of Madness. Strange ended that film with a third eye, a physical manifestation of Darkhold corruption, and left with Clea to fix an incursion he caused. Perhaps during their adventures, Strange and Doom crossed paths, and a corrupted Strange chose to team up with Victor. That corrupted part is very important because it does obviously seem like Doctor Strange is corrupted at this point in time, which could lead to his judgment being a little off. Obviously, if you're corrupted, it seems that would be the case. But also at the same time, it says that we have to look at Jonathan Hickman's 2015 Secret Wars, where basically Doctor Strange decides, yes, Doom is actually right, and I do need to align myself up with Doom because he is going to be the person who could actually save something with the multiverse. The whole thing's going to be destroyed, but it is worth it to still save one thing. And in Secret Wars, he even tells Reed Richards, SpiderMan, and some other people that Doom is actually very good at playing God. Very good at playing God. So this is why this is supposed to be very different when it comes to Avengers Doomsday. They say in the article, if Strange is indeed the wizard sidekick, it reframes the entirety of Avengers Doomsday. Instead of a standard hero versus villain romp, we are looking at a tragedy. The Avengers won't just be fighting a man who looks like Tony Stark. They'll be fighting a man they fought side by side with and trusted to hold the fabric of reality together. This is going to be a big part of Avengers Doomsday. And although reports state that we're not really going to, well, maybe not us, but the Avengers aren't really going to find out that Doom is a person who looks like Tony Stark, we're not going to find that out till Avengers Secret Wars. The audience will know, but they won't know. And although that seems to be the case, they are going to be able to know that it's Doctor Strange they are fighting against, somebody who they fought with and somebody who is supposed to be protecting the Earth. He's not the Sorcerer Supreme, Wong is, but still, we know that he probably would have been the next one, and of course he wanted to be the Sorcerer Supreme, and of course he played a major role in Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame as well. He's supposed to be the protector of our reality. That's literally what he said in Avengers Infinity War to Tony Stark. And now the two of them, well, not actual Tony Stark, but someone who looks like him, are fighting together. So this is going to be indeed a big betrayal. But let's talk about what was supposed to happen in Doctor Strange 3. From what we know, what was supposed to happen is that Strange went with Clea. He was going to meet a group. This group was either going to be the Black Swans or the Black Priests. Basically, he was going to run into a multiversal group that said the multiverse is collapsing. They are trying to save it. And Doctor Strange himself is the reason that many incursions have been happening. Not just our personal Doctor Strange, but a lot of different variants of Doctor Strange as well. So one of the biggest things that Doctor Strange 3 was going to play off of was something from Doctor Strange 2, where John Krasinski's Reed Richards said what they have found, what the Illuminati have found, and keep in mind the Illuminati on their Earth were highly advanced. They were able to know about the multiverse. They literally had designations for different universes, for different Earths. They knew a lot. And what they have found is that the biggest threat to the multiverse is Doctor Strange. They weren't just talking about ours, they were talking about Doctor Strange variants in general. So in Doctor Strange 3, our Stephen Strange would realize this. He would understand that he is actually responsible for many incursions, and he would want to go and fix them. This is the story that they are really going to tie into Avengers Doomsday. I'm assuming at some point in time, Clea actually brings Doctor Strange to Doctor Doom. I still stand by my theory that Clea is actually either a part of the Black Priests or the Black Swans. Black Swans would make more sense because they are the ones who work with Doctor Doom in the comics, or Rabam Alal, who is really just Doctor Doom as a code name, pretty much. Even Doctor Strange eventually realizes and finds out, oh, Rabam Alal is Doctor Doom. Doctor Doom literally reveals himself to him. And in that moment, that's actually where Strange decides to join Doom. So I think the same thing is going to happen here. And again, it's different than what the film was supposed to be because it was supposed to be about Kang before. But the whole thing about Strange realizing that he is the problem for the multiverse in general leads him on a very different path than he was on before. Now he's setting out to fix it. And from what we heard, Doctor Strange 3 would show us Doctor Strange trying to fix it by whatever means necessary. So this wasn't going to, and keep in mind he's corrupted, right? So whatever means necessary, also while being corrupted means he might do some things that we aren't used to Doctor Strange doing, or he might align himself with some people that we probably wouldn't have guessed that he's going to align himself with. Hence Doctor Doom. So that's how they're really tying this into it. So I believe he meets Doctor Doom. And at first, I do think Doom is trying to fix the multiverse. And just like we see and time runs out leading into Secret Wars, just how we see in Secret Wars where Doom has Strange by his side, there gets to a point to where they realize the multiverse can't be saved. There's too many incursions happening. It's a domino effect. You can't stop it. The whole thing's going to be destroyed. And Doctor Doom says, hey, isn't it worth it to save something? And Strange aligns himself with him and says yes. And that's how we get Battleworld. And that's how Doctor Strange is most likely going to be a very, very key player in Secret Wars. Because from what we've heard from very recent reports, the entirety of the multiverse will be destroyed. Everyone is going to die, but Doctor Doom. Now, of course, that's not confirmed at this point in time. But that is what a very recent report states. And when everybody gets resurrected on Battleworld after Doom creates it, Nobody remembers anything that happened before. I think, though, they might take a page from the comics and have Doctor Strange remember, because he does remember in the comics. And that's going to be kind of the way that the Avengers can come back. Because if nobody remembers anything that happened before, well, there are ways to get to, hey, I think Doctor Doom's a bad guy, right? And people start to realize that. But also, Doctor Strange could start to kind of feel guilty when he sees some of these heroes that he used to fight beside, right? He remembers the past, and that guilt starts to eat him up as things start to happen on Battleworld and Doom starts to do some things. And then ultimately, Strange does step in and try to help his former teammates, his former allies. I think he's going to play a very important role. It's also said the Scarlet Witch might be one of Doom's henchmen as well, which means he's going to have a very, very powerful team. Whether she returns in Doomsday or Secret Wars, he's going to be really powerful, especially with Strange and Wanda behind him and other wizards as well. And if Clea's with him as well, it's an incredibly powerful team. Plus, not to mention, he himself is insanely powerful. So right now, it looks like all the plans they had for Doctor Strange 3 are just going to be put into Avengers Doomsday. And that's going to be Doctor Strange's story in Avengers Doomsday. Basically, he figures out that he was the cause of a lot of universes dying, so literally trillions of people dying, and he wants to make it right, and he wants to stop it from happening. So he aligns himself with Doctor Doom, who seemingly is trying to stop it, but once they realize it's too late, he continues to align himself with Doctor Doom and basically says, yeah, do your thing. Now, I don't know if that means he dies as well at the end, or Doom spares him for joining his side, but it looks like, based on the leaked set photos that we've seen in Secret Wars, he's definitely by his side in Battleworld. Now, a few other things that are coming from the Insider Cryptic HD Quality confirm this as well. They state, time runs out as an effect, Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness post-credit scene. So basically, Strange caused an incursion. Now they're a domino effect. Now they're just happening, right? All throughout the multiverse, universes are dying. From what I currently know, they don't think it's fully expanded on, but maybe in the reshoots they pick it up. Like, Doom and his followers are also going to be introduced in Doomsday without context, and their identities hidden. I would find it very interesting if they chose to hide that Doctor Strange is an ally of Doctor Doom to the Avenger. Like, we would know that Strange is with Doom, just like we're going to see that Doom is Robert Downey Jr. He looks exactly like Tony Stark, but the Avengers won't see that. There will be scenes where they're obviously separated from the Avengers and we can see their faces. I am really curious to see, though, what Doctor Strange would think, or what he does think, when he sees that Doom looks exactly like Tony. Very curious if they show that in Avengers Doomsday. But again, Cryptic shares, it is rumored that Doom Stark isn't explained in Doomsday. Doom's identity is purposefully hidden for him to carry out his plans. His followers also with their identities hidden to preserve the reveal, much like when Strange discovered Doom was Rabam Alal. That's from the comics. I'm told Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness has heavy connections to Doomsday, not just the post-credit scenes. Again, confirming basically what they set up in Doomsday, what was supposed to happen in Doctor Strange 3, is now just going to happen in Avengers Doomsday. So the big kind of twist is that the Avengers aren't just going to be fighting Doctor Doom, but they're going to be fighting people that they fought alongside with before. And those incredibly powerful heroes, Doctor Strange and possibly Wanda and Clea as well, they're going to be fighting against them now. I hope it gets revealed that Strange is on. I hope he's not masked the entire time, because I want to see that emotional component to it, because that, to me, is really the twist, right? We obviously know some people are going to choose Doom's side, and that's going to be even more of a twist. But the Avengers having to see that and having to deal with that betrayal, I think is going to make for a pretty emotional scene. But you can go ahead and let me know your thoughts about this in the comments down below. Does it kind of irk you that Doctor Strange is going to be a villain, or do you think that this makes sense, especially because this does happen in the comics? Go ahead and let me know your thoughts about that in the comments down below. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the latest Avengers Doomsday and Marvel news. You can also find us on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and Snapchat. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.